some of the areas that you need to be thinking about, let's see, a financial, we're looking at, this is really addressing financial monitoring. You should be doing that, monitoring that plan on a monthly basis. And you're looking at income and you're looking at expenses. And if you've got a deviation from, if income's down this month, you got to look, okay, why is it down? What happened to that? We lost, for example, I may have lost a client. This would be this time of year, but in the summer months, one client, I lost a client for a project. So if I don't replace that income, I've got to figure out ways to cut expenses in order to, if I'm going to maintain my profitability level. Or I go out and look for additional projects, and that's generally what the case is. I go out and try to find additional projects that I can use to fill that gap that I have. Now, if you have expenses that are over in particular for a particular month, one of the challenges is, say we're over we spent for gas and for food. We're looking at those, and on gas we're $100 over for this particular month. When you're looking at the food category, well, we're under on food category. We're under for $75. Well, we're only $25 off. That should be okay. Well, one of the challenges if you do that is that you can next month may be different. Maybe both of them are over. Is that you don't want it? You want to control within the category. If gas is up for that month, if it's $100 over, you're going to control. Okay, you're going to look at that particular category. Okay, what happened this month? There's a control sheet. You're going to go, okay, this month gas is over $100. Okay, we had to make a couple extra trips. For example, I had to go maybe down there. I'd go look at a project down in Portland, so I had to spend more money to go down to Portland and look at a potential project for this next summer. So this month I make a note of that, why, and then, okay, probably I'm not going to have to go down there later. So maybe I might not have to, it's just an area that I have to monitor for the next few months to make sure that I don't go over or look for ways that maybe I can cut expenses other ways in that gas category. And maybe look at the ways, if you're looking at a family, for example, we'll make less trips to the store. We only go once a week to the store. We're not going to go every other day to the store to get groceries. We're 25 miles to the store from here. So that would be our action, and then there would be a person responsible for that. So to be successful, you have to control those expenses and take actions and do that within those individual categories that you set. Gas, food, marketing, whatever it may be. You want to make sure that those expenses stay within the amount that you allocated. And just as a kind of a closing statement is that it's how you really invest the money that you earn. It's the most key being successful at creating a financial plan. It's not what you sell, what you produce. It's how you reinvest those dollars. And looking at the wealth generating expenses, looking at ways to generate new sources of income. Looking at that weak link, and also looking at those enterprises like April did, and evaluating groceries versus CSAs versus restaurants, and looking at those three, which ones had the best profit, gross profit to cover the fixed expenses, the overhead expenses, and evaluating those. And in order to do that, as April reiterated, was that you have to have the data. So it's not what you produce, it's really how you reinvest that dollars, and having that mindset that you're trying to invest it to create shareholders and contracts. And for this next week, we're looking at, again, I want you to look at one of your particular enterprises that you have. Take the time to find out what the financial weak link for that enterprise is, and then use the margin of reaction filter to if you have more than one option to address that, use that margin of reaction filter to think about ways that to allocate the resources to those different actions. And just get in the habit of looking at that thing about that weak link and also using those filters. There kind of wrapped up the end there. Is there any questions for?
We do have some questions, Craig. This first one is from Janice, and she asks, she said that you and April have stressed getting the data. You've mentioned that you need to do this from the start, but what if you've been running your farm for some time without very good records? How do you start when you are already in progress? It feels like trying to jump on a Ferris wheel that is already going.
I can relate to that. I'll say, you know, how I started, Craig, and then if you want to add, that would be great. But I think it's one of those topics where it is extremely overwhelming to think about all the stuff that you're doing on a day-to-day basis in the heat of the summer or the heat of your year, and then to add another layer of complexity with having to write down everything it was that you did. So I guess the one suggestion I would make is I focus on one or two issues that you think are really critical, and even if you can't tackle everything, you can't keep records for all of it, then focus on one or two things. You know, for instance, we grow 40 different kinds of vegetables, and we're touching multiple of those in any given day. And so it's not really realistic to think about marking down every 15 minutes of time that we spent here or there. So what we did the very first year where we were really diligent about our records was we picked our top 8 crops that we felt like either they had a major piece of they formed a major part of our revenue stream, or they were crops that we really wanted to be a big part of our revenue stream. And we tracked just those. And so by parsing it out and just picking a few things that you can really focus on, you'll have some success over the course of a year. And then you'll also be able to have a chance to fine-tune your techniques and your processes for how you're managing to keep those records. And that will parlay itself into being able to keep more records on a broader scale in the subsequent years. And the important thing is to start small. I mean, pick something that is feasible and then stay with it, because having that success is really going to make you be more inclined to want to keep doing it.
Does
that help?
Yeah, that's an excellent comment there, April, because that's, yeah, pick a, maybe pick a specific enterprise that's a key enterprise that you have, that you need to get the information, that you focus on that one to start with. And yeah, you don't want to get too overwhelmed, so overwhelmed that you won't do the data collection. So yeah, pick an enterprise, and then start thinking about what kind of, how you're going to keep the data. So that is another aspect of this process. Is, you're going to use QuickBooks, Quicken, or you're just going to use an Excel spreadsheet, whatever works. You can just do it like a handwritten. So figuring out what works best for you as far as keeping track of the data is another important aspect of that, because I use, with my business, I use QuickBooks a lot because I got to send out invoices and those. So it's how you enter. Once you get that, you get the key to that. Once you start doing that, is getting the category set up right from the very beginning. And if you're going to use some software, QuickBooks or Quicken, is get those categories that are important set up from the very beginning. Otherwise, it's kind of a pain to get them fixed later. So if you're going to go with the software, I would recommend doing that.
Thanks, Craig. And also just to let folks know that next week we will actually be talking about record keeping. So it is an upcoming topic. Another question, and this is from Lori. She's asking if you're saying that salary is coming from the profit, or is it in your expenses? And I think that this is something that comes up for me when I also look at the planning for profit. I'm wondering if you're planning for profit as your business, and then your profit is going into another plan that you have for your home life and expenses, or if they're combined into one. And that might make a difference about whether your salary is coming from your profit or your expenses.
Sure. When it's in the business side of it, the salary would be considered an expense. If you're just looking at your business, that would be an expense. and then as you talked about, Colette, you take that salary and then put it, that would go into, because we do have, I have Healing Hood, which is our business with the goat vegetation, has a holistic financial plan, and then we, Julie and I, as a family, we take that money from that comes out of Healing Hoods and we put it into our personal finances, and we plan that out as how that salary is spent within the family. So those are two different plans. So that the salary within the business is an expense, and it's not, and the profit is in addition to that. So
that's exactly how we manage it too. We have a draw out of our business account that we consider is part of our budgeted expenses for the farm business, and then the profit is on top of that.
So I think that this is probably maybe one of those mind-blowing things for a lot of farmers, because in a number of conversations that I've had and conversations we've had in classes in the past, a lot of times people aren't paying themselves. So the idea of planning their salary might be a new idea. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, that is true, and I know it can be. It's just one of the things that your time, as far as your holistic context goes, you have to make a reasonable amount of money from the time that you spent to make it, to have the quality of life that you want. And so that is making sure that you are paid first. Since you're as an employee, myself, my business, my wife and I are the only two employees, so we pay ourselves a salary essentially, and that is, so it's not it doesn't come out of it. I mean, then the profit side of it is really, you could take that profit and it could go into reinvested into the business. It could go and could pay yourself more, or it could be a way of going on a family vacation. It's just the reason you set that profit level is to make sure those expenses don't move up without thinking about it. You really want to think about where you spend your money, and that's the kind of the reason that you're planning that profit, is that it makes you think about how those expenses are being spent, or being where the money is going for those expenses, and is it moving you towards your holistic concept? And if you make an expenditure and it doesn't look like it's going to move you towards, you do evaluate it, it doesn't look like you're moving towards holistic context, and why you're spending the money there. So it just helps you ask that question and raise the level of awareness of where your money's going.